Theo Fleury, welcome to Bonzi Live. I can't
Thank
thank
you.
you enough for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know you've got so much on the go these days, but I really do thank you for taking giving me this time.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, you bet. I've been looking forward to this for a while through a mutual friend of ours, Jack Reedford.
Oh yes.
Um, yeah, so I met Jack in Nicaragua, and
Ah,
when he saw I was doing this show and he's been watching quite a bit, he's like, "Hey, you know what?" Because he's seen me interview like the likes of Jeremy Taggart.
yep.
I had Chris Contos on.
Oh, nice.
I played hockey with his younger brother, so
Okay.
and I got to know Chris over the years, and Chris was a great guest on the show as well. And Jack said, "Hey, you know, I know Theo," and he reached out, and your manager were kind enough to set this up. So again,
Yeah,
thanks so much.
no
And
problem.
I'll have to apologize. My hair and makeup team took the day off, so this
Yeah,
is all you get.
mine did too. So
Perfect. Well, listen, let's get right to it. Basically, I'm sure a lot of people out there know your story, but a lot of my fans, friends, and people that watch around the world don't. So
right.
let's get right to it. I mean, incredible hockey career. On top of a nightmare life you basically lived almost from an early childhood. You make no secret that your dad was a raging alcoholic. Your mom was a pill taker, and
Yeah.
that must have been tough as a kid growing up to live through that. You were born in Oxbow, Saskatchewan.
Yes.
How many people live in Oxbow or did?
I would
Not too many.
maybe 300.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
You still have family there, Theo?
No.
No.
Well, actually, yeah, I do. I have aunts and uncles and cousins and everybody that sort of lives in that area.
Yeah.
They're all grain farmers and cattle farmers and stuff. So,
And you get back there often?
oil and gas guys. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
You get back there to visit often or not really?
No. Well, I was born in Oxbow,
But moved early.
but then I was raised in Manitoba.
Right.
Yeah.
So at age 13, you're playing hockey now, obviously, and you made an impact pretty quick. You were a small, feisty little fellow out there on the ice and raised eyebrows pretty quick. But at 13, you suffered a major injury. You tore or severed your brachial artery at 13. Tell me about that real quick.
Well, we're getting feedback from my mic for some reason. Why
okay. Do you have headphones, Theo?
I do, but let me see if I can just get them connected to my.
I'm not picking it up on my end, but yeah,
I'm picking it up on my end. So
okay,
and it's pissing me off. So
I get it. It's annoying.
I just got to find my my AirPods on here. So
no worries.
Oh, there we go. Connect. Okay.
Perfect. That should help tremendously.
All right. Way better.
I forgot to mention it to Dawn, and then an
hour.
ago.
You did, but I thought my mic was good enough. So
gotcha.
But here we go. We're good.
Cool. So yeah, we were talking about you severed your brachial artery at 13 years old, which was a major injury. You were out for a year.
Yeah. Well, what happened was I grew up in this little town called Russell, Manitoba, and what was really kind of cool is I moved there when I was 6 years old, and it just so happened that the 13 best athletes in this little town of Russell, Manitoba were all 6 years old. We're all my age.
Wow.
And so we became this incredible little hockey team, and we used to, go to all the big city tournaments and kick the shit out of these city slickers. And they didn't like it too much. And so how the injury happened was we beat this team, Portage Terriers, in this big tournament. And so they didn't like it too much. So they challenged us to a 2-game sort of total goal thing in their barn.
Wow.
And so I think there was 11 seconds left in the second period, and I got a little bit too far ahead of the play, and my defenseman passed me the puck sort of up the middle. And as I was looking back for the puck, the defenseman who was defending me turned because he was coming forward. He turned and he tripped. And as he tripped, he came straight back like this, but his skate came up and caught me right under the arm. And cut my arteries, all my nerves, everything like that. And I was quickly rushed to Winnipeg to the Children's Hospital. And thank God, I had this amazing surgeon named Dr. Robertson, who basically sewed me back up together underneath a microscope. And we're talking like that's almost 40 years ago that happened. And and so basically what happened when the nerve got severed, he had to go all the way down, reach back up, pull it all the way up, sew it back together, and it grew 1 millimeter a day.
Wow.
And that's why I missed a whole year of hockey, because it took a year for the nerve to grow all the way back down. But, more importantly, I probably wasn't supposed to play hockey ever again.
Because you're lucky, man.
Well, I could have died actually because it was my artery, but
bled out.
Yeah, but thank God there was lots of really smart and skilled people at the arena when it happened, and so they put a tourniquet on it right away and put a lot of pressure on it. By the time I got to the Portage Hospital, it had already stopped bleeding, so which was a good sign. But it was one of the most difficult times in my life because I was a kid that absolutely loved to play sports, and I couldn't play any contact sports for a year, and but I became this crazy kind of Forrest Gump ping pong player, and I played a lot of badminton and that kind of stuff, and
hand-eye coordination.
Yeah, and then I absolutely fell in love with golf because it was really the only sport I could play. And so, it was a difficult time. But, what was interesting was my first game back, we hosted provincials in our hometown. And the very first shift of my very first game back, 8 seconds, I scored. So
wow. Wow. You're like a bear pent up in a cave all
winter. Oh my God! Yes,
it's like, come on, let me loose. You listened. It didn't take long for you to just jump right back in, because the community rallied around you back then, and they actually sent you to the Andy Murray Hockey School because you were that good. So, I mean, obviously, probably a bittersweet time for you, because you must have been thrilled that a community like that would rally around you and help you out and send you there.
Yeah, They basically did it my whole entire time I spent in that little town, we, like I said, we had an amazing team. I had 3 incredible coaches and 13 sets of amazing parents who, basically raised me and gave me some really incredible morals. I learned about respect and, numerous other things that, I still hold near and dear to my heart today. So, I was very fortunate. I was very lucky to grow up in that kind of environment. And, it really set me up for success, the rest of my life.
For sure. Yeah, and at the same time, it is where you ultimately met Graham James. And, he took you under his wing. As most people know who do know the story. And, you kicked ass. You played for the Moose Jaw Warriors. You scored 29 goals and racked up 75 points in 71 games at 16 years old.
Yeah.
That's not a big deal,
But that was a phenomenal feat on my part, because I played my first year in the Western Hockey League. I think I was maybe 5'3" and maybe 100, maybe 125 pounds soaking wet.
Playing against some monsters.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, the year that I broke into the Western Hockey League, like all of the, heavyweights, it ended up becoming heavyweights in the NHL all played, that year. Guys like the Grim Reaper,
Yeah.
Baumgartner, Dave Manson, Craig Berube, the
So
list goes on and on and on. And so, but I was lucky because I had a couple of really tough wingers playing with me. I had Kelly Buckberger and Mike Keane were my
there you
line
go.
mates that year. So,
Nice.
they took good care of me. So
I bet they did. But and like, so did these big guys come after you because you were so small, Theo, or was it kind of that thing where we're not going to fuck with him? He's so fast and small, and he's not really a problem.
oh
Or
no.
no, you were a target, eh?
Oh yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. Well,
right
and
on.
I brought a lot of it onto myself too. So I was a cocky SOB, but
For
you
sure.
know,
But hey, you
but you
carried
know
that.
what? It really prepared me for, what was to come in the future, and that was a 15-year NHL career, and every night in the NHL, I had to play against the other team's best
That's
two
the
best
best.
defensemen, their best defensive line, and so the Western League prepared me for the success that I had in the NHL.
For sure. And every year you played in the Western Hockey League, you just got better and better. You ended up tying Joe Sakic for and won the Bob Clark Trophy back then
Yeah,
as a top scorer. I mean, that's a pretty good company right there, mister.
yeah. Well, I was fortunate. I played with lots of great players.
You
In
sure
Moose
did.
Jaw.
Yeah, we're from
I
Moose
think
Jaw.
I think what was it? Four of us became captains in the NHL,
Is that right? We're
and
from
from Moose Jaw.
yeah.
And I think there's either 7 or 8 of us now that have won Stanley Cups as well. And we all played in Moose Jaw, and we all played together. So
Wow.
it was a great town, a hockey crazy town. We played in a tin can of a rink that was pretty intimidating and pretty crazy place on a Saturday night, and but you know, you mentioned, Graham's name, and basically when I met Graham, nobody was talking about Theo Fleury as being an NHL superstar,
Right.
and I guess he noticed something in me that he maybe felt that I had the tools, I had the goods to be an NHL player. But what happened was, because of my home life, because of my parents never being available to me,
Right.
This particular guy, basically provided, some parenting and some attention and a lot of things that I wasn't.
Guidance.
Some guidance as well, and the next, I guess, 2.5 years of my life were a complete and absolute nightmare. This guy raped me 150 times over a 2.5 year period, and because I was so young and didn't really know what the hell was going on, I quickly discovered alcohol and drugs, and
Yeah.
now,
did he help with that, Theo, if I may?
No, I did that on
that out on your own. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and at the beginning, it was just, a 15-year-old kid exploring,
Right.
like most kids do. And, but, that first sip of alcohol, really,
Off to the races.
suppressed all of that, emotional pain and suffering that I was experiencing at that time. And, I was hooked instantly, and away I went.
Yeah.
Did
you ever look back? Did you ever look back, Theo, in that 2.5 years and think, like, obviously he has his tactics, those predators, those assholes do, but was there ever a point in that 2.5 years where you were like, fuck it, I'm going to tell on him, or I'm going to run away and never be seen again? Like, did any of those thoughts ever enter your mind, or was it just you were just kind of locked in by his manipulative ways.
Right. Well, I think it was a combination of all those things. I knew right from the start that I was in trouble.
Yeah.
And, I often said to myself, how the hell am I going to get out of this situation and still pursue, my dream.
Right.
And what you got to understand about predators is, there was a long grooming process that happened before I even came along.
Right.
And Graham got himself in a position of power and trust.
Yeah.
And I knew that. And so if I would have come forward, I knew that I wouldn't be believed, first and foremost. And then secondly, I knew my hockey career would be over.
Right.
Because I would be labeled as a, shit disturber and, and all this stuff. And so, I kept it inside. And when I finally got to Moose Jaw, Graham got fired after the first year I was there. And so I never had to have any contact with him ever again. That was a big, big relief. And, obviously you see the next 3 years of my career in Moose Jaw, I really, set the world on fire and played in 2 World Juniors. I was captain of Canada's national junior team. We won the gold medal in 1988 in Moscow. And so, and then from there, I just continually got better. I went to Salt Lake City, won a championship there, went back the following year, led the IHL in scoring, got called up, on New Year's Eve of 1988. And
that's right.
6 months later, I was carrying the Stanley Cup around the Montreal Forum.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
You kind of covered a whole bunch of my notes really quickly, which is awesome. I mean, you told me we had a quick chat before we did this, and you said I'll make this as easy as hell for you because I said I was a little nervous, and I've been doing my research for weeks, and I did read some of the book. I never read all of it, and because it hit close to home for me too, with
right, for sure.
Not obviously with the sexual stuff with Mr. James, but so can I ask you a question?
Well, you know what? That's the thing about trauma. Is I get so many people who say, I've had trauma in my life, not as bad as yours. That's always the thing, right?
Yeah,
not as bad. But here's the thing about emotional pain: is my emotional pain and your emotional pain are exactly the same. There's no differences.
Very true.
When you're in emotional pain, you're in emotional pain.
Yeah.
And no matter how horrific or it is, and I hate the word addiction.
Right.
Because it has so much shame attached to it, right?
Yeah.
And what people don't really understand about addiction is that all addiction is a coping mechanism to suppress the emotional pain and scars that are left behind by traumatic experiences. And so, I always use this story, like when I was at my lowest point, I couldn't go to a doctor and say, "Hey doc, do you have something for sexual abuse that I can take?" Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the thing about addiction. And I've changed the word addiction to emotional pain management.
I like it.
That's what addiction is.
Yeah. You're 100% correct.
Yeah. And what comes along with trauma is mental health issues, right? Depression, anxiety, panic attacks, OCD, PTSD, all of these things.
Yes, sir.
And so a great way to suppress a lot of that stuff is through the addiction, portal.
Right.
Right. But as we know, your addiction never gets better. right? It continually gets worse and worse and worse. And, 16 years ago, I had a fully loaded pistol in my mouth, ready to pull the trigger and end my life, not because I wanted to die, but I was completely exhausted from living in emotional pain and suffering. And I tried absolutely everything on the planet to get rid of this. And, but what was interesting was, I couldn't pull the trigger, and I didn't pull the trigger,
Thank Christ.
which meant that, I better figure this out.
Yes.
Right. And I better get to a point where I can live life on life's terms. Right. And, when I sat down to write the book, Playing with Fire, in, I think it was like 2006, 2007.
Oh yeah.
At the beginning, I wasn't even going to talk about any of this stuff,
Right.
And, but as the process of the book, started to, fill the pages, and I really felt safe and trusted, and, with the person that I was writing the book. And then, it really just started to flow.
Right.
And that book really changed my life and set me on a different path and a different direction. And, it's been amazing.
Well, it is the first time you came clean with being sexually abused and molested by Graham James, correct?
Yeah. I basically told the whole story. I told about my parents and talked about the Graham stuff. And then, talked about my drink-a-log and my drug-a-log, and then a few hockey stories, mixed in, here and there. So
what made you, or what was the turning point, Theo, in coming clean? And you're starting to write this book, and you're humming along. You wrote it with, I'm sorry, I forget her name.
Kirsty McClellan
Day. That's right. Yeah. So, you start writing. So do you tell her first? Like, how many people knew up to this point before you ever?
I think everybody knew, or
because
had an inkling. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, really.
Yeah. And Sheldon had asked you many years ago to come clean with him, correct? And it was a bit of an issue with you too.
Well, basically I was in the middle of my hockey career. I was captain of the Calgary Flames at the time.
Yeah.
And, I just wasn't ready, I wasn't ready to talk about it.
Was he pissed at you that you didn't come out with him and you let him do it alone, or was he accepting of that?
You know what? You'd probably have to ask him that,
Fair enough.
But writing that book, was really a game changer, because it was the very first time I actually really got honest.
Yeah.
And
a monumental boulder off your chest.
Well, I was still anxious. I was still, afraid,
Yeah.
I remember 4 days before I went to Toronto to launch the book, I was fucking shitting in my pants, because I had no idea how everybody else was going to react to
perceive it,
to what was in the book. And the first book signing in Toronto was my life changer, because I didn't really have a whole lot of expectations.
Right.
I thought I'd show up, sign 10 books, go to the next town, sign 10 books, so on and so forth. Well, I show up at the biggest Indigo chapter store in all of Canada, downtown Toronto on Yonge Street.
Yep.
And I walk through the front doors, and there's 400 people standing in line with my book. And I'm like, what the fuck are all these people doing here? And so I sat down at the book table and started signing books. And out of the corner of my eye, I spot this guy in line. And he's got my book clutched against his chest, and his face is buried in the floor, and he's walking really slow. And I was like, I wonder what's up with this dude, right?
Yeah.
So I follow him all the way in the line. He gets to the front of the line. He puts the book on the table, looks me in the eye, and says, "Me too."
Damn.
Me too.
Fuck. Damn.
And, and that's when I realized
This
this
wow.
was the reason why I wrote this book.
Yeah.
Right. Because I said, by me finding my own voice, by me putting a voice to all of my pain and suffering, I can help others achieve the exact same thing. And then what happened after that first book signing was I got completely run over by people everywhere I went.
Yeah.
5, 10, 15, 20 people were coming up at every book signing saying, "Hey man, I read your book. You told my story. Me too. Hey, I saw your documentary. You told my story. Me too. Hey, I read an article in the newspaper, or I saw an article in a magazine." And, and I was getting hundreds of emails every day, people, saying, "Thank you for writing the book. Thank you for telling my story."
Yeah.
And then, I was able to, after the book tour, I was able to go out on a speaking tour and, run into all these incredible people with incredible stories. And, and then I started to educate myself in the field of psychology and neuroscience, and how trauma is all connected to all of it, and why we do the things that we do, and all that stuff. And what was interesting was that, all of my trauma happened in relationship. Okay.
Yeah.
With my parents, with my abuser, with several relationships I had, with women and teammates and all this stuff. And the one relationship that I neglected the most was the one that I had with myself.
Yeah.
And ultimately that's what treatment, that is what healing is all about, is I started to have a relationship with myself. And the first thing I needed to do was get sober.
Yeah.
Right. And then, as I started to get days and months and years of sobriety, I gained a lot more confidence that I could achieve this relationship with myself. Right.
Right.
And it really comes down to 3 aspects. Right. I got to heal the physical body. I got to heal the emotional piece.
Yeah.
And then I got to find something greater than myself, which is spirituality, that helps me stay connected on a daily basis.
Right.
Right. And if one of those things is out of sync, I'm going to have depression. I'm going to have anxiety. I'm going to suffer from PTSD,
Right.
And so, because, when I started it, the pile of shit was, this big.
Yeah.
All I did was started just knocking off little pieces and layers and all of that. And, because, I've done every type of therapy known
and it probably never ends, does it, Theo?
No. That's what it's, I stand on stage and, I say, I'm in therapy for the rest of my life. And people are like, what?
Yeah.
Because we're so programmed by big pharma that,
are we ever,
whatever I have, I can take a pill and it's just going to go away. Well, no, it's not, it's really a lifelong journey of finding peace, joy, happiness, and serenity. Right.
For sure.
Because I didn't live in those realms at all, for the probably first 40 years of my life.
Damn.
And now, I do experience, moments of peace and moments of joy and happiness. And, I can think about one thing at a time. My head's not fucking spinning all the time, but, like, it's okay to talk about this stuff. Right. And that's what I've really discovered, is that, I thought that I was the only person in the world that was experiencing what I was experiencing. But once, like I said, when I found my own voice and started to talk about it, I ran into a whole bunch of other people who had the same experience.
Yeah.
And together by sharing those experiences, I learned how to have a relationship with myself and how to heal, those deep wounds, that were caused by other people.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I always love that scene in Good Will Hunting, right at the end when, Robin Williams and Matt Damon are in his office, and Robin Williams says, wasn't your fault, and it took a long time for me to realize, that it wasn't my fault. And once the light bulb went off, that it wasn't my fault, it was a huge breakthrough.
I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's something, I'm still living with to this day. You talk about self-healing and you got to heal yourself first. And, we talked briefly about my PTSD struggles before we started this. And,
let's explain what PTSD is.
Yeah.
PTSD is the movie that keeps playing in your head. The trauma is on a trauma loop, right? And for me, I was molested in a dark room where I could never see my abuser coming at me, right?
Right.
So whenever I was alone in a dark place, like I was fucking freaking out.
Yeah.
Right? And through the process of a therapeutic modality called EMDR, I was able to reframe that piece that was sort of in a file cabinet in my unconscious memory.
Right.
Yeah. And, it was a huge breakthrough, So I don't know if you've tried EMDR.
I haven't, no, but I will certainly take note.
It is one of the most effective therapies to help people get rid of post-traumatic stress disorder.
Amazing. Well, definitely.
When I struggle, I don't go to cognitive behavioral therapy anymore.
Right.
I go right to my EMDR therapist and I say, here's my issue and I want to reframe it. And she takes me through this process, which is kind of a hypnotic sort of state that you get in.
Yeah.
And, it brings all of those unconscious memories that have been buried in our unconscious brain, and it brings them to the forefront. And then we're able to put them back in the filing cabinet the way that we want to experience that particular situation that happened to us.
Wow. Well, I'm so glad it worked for you. You've certainly had such a traumatic life. And now I look at you, I mean, you've done so much, and I'm kind of jumping ahead, but I mean, you've done your country music star now. You played a very brief stint in pro baseball.
Yeah.
You've been, what else am I missing? You were on Dancing with not Dancing with the Stars. Battle of the Blades.
Yeah.
Were you on at the same time as Wade Belak, or were you a year?
No, I was the year before.
Okay. Yeah. So let's get back to hockey. I mean, because you've really ran this interview, and I can't thank you enough. You really have made it easy. But you start, like you said, you brought up quite a while ago. I think you were six weeks into January 1st. You started with the Calgary Flames. And you won the Stanley Cup in your rookie season.
Yeah.
You join the Flames right away. You rack up about 34 points in 36 games. And then you go on to make the playoffs, 11 points in the playoffs, and win the Stanley Cup. And there you are, drinking out of the cup as a rookie. That must have been surreal, dude. To be told a million times over that you're too small, you'll never make it,
Yeah.
Was it just a ginormous double fuck you to everybody? Or you were like,
I knew from probably the first time my blades touched the ice that this was going to happen,
Cool.
And I believed it. I worked hard. Hockey was really, really easy for me.
Yeah.
And
was it that huge? Was it a massive escape for you too, Theo?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It was my happy place,
Yeah, for sure.
and, when I got to the NHL, it was my dream times 1,000,
Yeah,
you know,
I bet.
um, it surpassed every expectation that I ever had. Like when I first got to the NHL, I just wanted to be a solid NHL player,
Yeah, yeah.
and then I just kept getting better and better, and I was more confident, and
Who do
then
you
I
credit? Who do you credit for that back then? After winning your first cup, at such a young, like as a rookie essentially, and you
Mhm.
didn't even have a full rookie season,
Yeah,
but then the next year you said you just kept getting better and better, and you did. You
yeah.
kept scoring more goals, but
Well, I got to play with better players, right?
yeah,
When I came to Calgary, I was a fourth line centerman who was a guy that was there to provide a spark,
yeah,
maybe change the momentum of games. Uh, there was really no expectations for me to score,
yeah,
and what was really interesting was, it takes 16 wins to win a Stanley Cup. Okay.
right, yeah,
And I played on a line with Brian McClelland, who's the GM of the Washington Capitals, and Tim Hunter. They
wow,
were my two line mates.
wow,
And out of the 16 wins, our line contributed 6 game-winning goals as
damn,
a fourth line
wow,
to the Stanley Cup. So, it was really easy to prepare to play 5 or 6 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes a night,
sure,
you know,
for sure.
and we got to play against the other team's shitty fourth line. You know what I
You
mean?
must love
So
that.
yeah, it was awesome.
Sure,
So it was a completely different mentality. But my second year, I got to play with Joel Otto was my centerman, and I played with a guy named Paul Ranheim, who the year before scored 68 goals in the minors.
wow.
And then the following year, I played with Doug Gilmour and scored 50 goals.
Yeah, you
You
sure
know,
did.
so
That must
so
have been pretty amazing too. Not only win a Stanley Cup, but 2 years later, 3 years later, you're pumping in 50 goals, bud.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
And then Hockey Canada came calling. I played
they sure
played
did.
in a couple World Championships. I played in a couple. Well, it was a Canada Cup at the time.
Yep.
And then a couple Olympic Games. So I just continued to get better, and I really thrived on the bigger the game, the better I played.
Right.
The more intensity, the more pressure, the more all of that. I thrived in that environment, in that situation, because I
Yeah.
played with a lot of guys that would just kind of fold up their tent and disappear. But
Yeah.
I loved being in those situations. When the game was tied and there's 3 minutes left, like I want to be on the ice and I want to have the puck on my stick, because I know
Yeah.
that I've prepared my whole entire life. Those hours and hours I spent at the
Yeah.
Russell Arena, going through these situations in my head,
Yeah.
I knew that was going to happen.
Wild. So excuse me, you go to your first Olympics, 98, you lose. That must have been tough,
Yeah, it
you played
was.
with some great dudes back then. I mean, the team was absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Well, it
But
was basically the first dream team that,
yeah,
Canada sort of, with the exception of the 87 Canada Cup when,
sure.
when
Sure.
Mario scored that goal and him and Gretz played together. But,
Topps Coliseum.
yeah, but it was, it's the ultimate,
Yeah. Well,
is
you lost one of but then redemption 2002.
mhm,
Gretzky takes a chance on you. You obviously I'm not telling anything out of school. You probably almost didn't get accepted because of the nightmare you were going through back then.
yeah.
I think your addiction
Well,
problem was
I was in treatment the summer before the Olympics.
before. That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd just gotten out of treatment. I was living in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and my phone rang at my house,
Wow.
and it was Wayne,
Jesus. Not, not a
and,
big deal. Wayne's calling my house phone.
and I was like, "What the fuck is Wayne Gretzky calling me for?" And he said, "We're having the summer camp here in Calgary, and we'd love for you to be a part of it. we feel that you're going to be a big part of the 2002 team, and we want you here. And that really kind of set me on a different path that whole entire year because I so badly wanted to be a part of that team. And, I got to New York and they just traded for Eric Lindros. And so me and him and Mike York, basically from September to December, we were like the best line in hockey.
Yeah.
And, I think we were all in the top 10 in scoring when the Olympics happened. And so, got the call from Wayne in December. Hey, you're on the team. And
awesome, dude.
I certainly didn't want to let him down. That's for sure, for, taking a big chance. And I know he got a lot of flack over the pick.
Yeah.
But
hey,
in the end, it all,
medal, baby, right?
It all turned out, for the best.
It sure did. You won a Stanley Cup. You won a gold medal. You lost a gold medal. So, I mean, that had to so many emotions. You won a World Juniors as well. You were also part of, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about it real quick. You were involved in the most probably famous hockey brawl of all time, dude. Ever. What was that like for a hot second? Can you just tell me a couple of quick stories about it?
It was bizarre. It was one of the most bizarre things that I've ever been involved in my hockey career, But you know what? People don't understand that kind of stuff was happening every night in the Western League.
Right.
It was either a line brawl or a bench clearing brawl every night.
Yeah.
So for us guys, it wasn't unusual, but because it was on an international stage where, the Europeans like to play a little different style than us.
Yeah.
But I was even more shocked that the Russians were willing to engage in getting their asses kicked. So,
and you must have dusted them. You had some pretty big boys and tough guys on our team too, man.
We had some scary dudes, scary tough guys.
For sure.
I remember watching the highlights, and I remember Mike Keane grabbing some guy, and I guarantee it was like 70 unanswered. He hit him 70 times.
Wow.
And this Russian kid was just kind of like
human speed bag.
Yeah.
Well, you had Steve Chason was on it, Luke Richardson. Those are some tough characters.
Ivan Corvo, Scott Metcalf,
and
Everett Stanipas.
Yeah, right. Plus you, 5'6", full of piss and vinegar. Never met a dust up you didn't like either, my friend. So
it was right in the middle of that. But I think what happened the following year was probably more significant. We went into communist Russia.
Right.
And they had a line of Fedorov, McGillney, and Bure. That was their line. And so we had Mark Recchi, Robbie DeMaio, and Adam Graves were our checking line. And Joe Sakic was the fourth line centerman on that team.
Wow.
And we beat them 3-2 in the same rink that Paul Henderson scored the goal in 1970.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow, that's something I never came across. That's cool.
Yeah. So
the
rink was called Luzhniki.
Is it still there, Theo? Do you know?
I don't know if it's still. I would assume that it's still there.
Yeah.
It was pretty old when we played in there.
Yeah. Well, I'm running out of time with you, and I've got to so much. Plus, you've really helped move this along. But I just want to touch briefly in the last few minutes I have you here on kind of the life we're living now and what you're up to. You've been through so much. You've been a great activist for mental health, child abuse. This pedophile ring bullshit that's going on in this world now, it's really scary shit, dude, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Your Twitter.
I would say it is one of the biggest epidemics we have on the planet.
Yep.
The most lucrative industry on the planet is what?
Pornography.
Most people would say Amazon.
Yeah.
Okay. Like regular people would say Amazon. Well, Amazon made $87 million last year. You know how much child trafficking made? $150 billion.
Wow.
And yeah, it's crazy. And and if you go down that rabbit hole and you find out, what all these people are doing, it is absolutely sickening.
It is, and the people doing it too, my friend. Right?
Oh, yeah.
There's names that would blow us away. And it's sad, Theo, but a lot of people out there kind of call bullshit on this, and we're like, oh well, I don't hear about it in the fucking mass media, and it's not a big deal out there. Well, it goddamn is. 1 million kids a year in North America go missing.
Yeah.
But we don't give a shit about that. We're too wrapped up in this goddamn COVID and wear your mask. And I just don't see.
Do you think that might be a little bit of a distraction?
You think so? I certainly do, my friend.
Yeah.
And it breaks my heart. But and close friends and family simply don't see this, Theo. And it is alarming. It's alarming as a human being, as a father.
Well, because and that's the way they spun this story.
100%.
Is that it's so bizarre and so out there that the majority of people, and not saying it's a bad thing, is that, we don't think in our wildest dreams that this kind of stuff could possibly happen.
Right.
Well, I live in this space 24/7.
Yeah.
7 days a week. Okay. And the emails that I get would absolutely traumatize anybody who has to read them. But because, I have my own experience,
right.
I like one of the first guys I interviewed in my documentary was a guy that at 6 months old, his parents took him to satanic rituals.
Wow.
And, it was one of the most unbelievable stories that to this day that really shook me to the core of my humanity.
Yeah.
Right. Because even I was like, no way, this couldn't have happened. And he laid it all out, in detail.
Yeah.
Like they were giving him fucking drugs at a year old.
Crazy.
Well, so
you see so many videos lately popping up of kids being attempted kidnapping right at outdoor restaurant, like patios and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Joe Montana, world famous quarterback, one of the best of all time, arguably. Him and his wife, they had an intruder that came in there to steal their grandkid.
Yeah.
Right out of their home. I mean, and that's an elite person who's famous and has security and stuff. All the other people out there that don't, and I mean, and it just goes kind of poo-pooed away and brushed under the carpet, and it's scary, man.
Yeah, it is. It's terrifying. The worst leadership worldwide is right now.
Yeah. Well, especially in North America. I mean, we got two asshats down in the States who are bickering like little children on their last debate there.
They're so addicted to power.
Exactly.
It is unbelievable.
And same with our prime minister is the same. He's never met a camera or something he doesn't like. That if he gets attention, man, he's right there. Whether it be a photograph camera, a video camera, that guy is right there and hugging kids, kissing babies and stuff.
Well, that's something that nobody talks about. You want to talk about somebody who's traumatized?
It must drive you insane to watch him parade around and run our country.
Well, first of all, I have a lot of compassion and empathy for him because of his childhood experience.
Yeah.
Right. But there's absolutely no way, shape, in hell that this guy should be running anything.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. He spent more money in the last 4 months than every prime minister combined in the last 153 years. I think you retweeted that a couple of days ago, and
it's planned.
Yeah,
this is all part of a plan to, have control over us. Yeah. And the last guy that I want advice from is that guy.
For sure.
Yeah. And what I find interesting is how many times he's screwed up.
Yeah.
Blackface,
Right.
SNC Lavalin, the Wee scandal. There's a little girl who's probably a woman now who's been silenced by him.
Yeah.
Because he was doing whatever he was doing to her, So
yeah,
I don't know.
and we all know who his best friend was or is, and what happened to him.
He's got a history of
hanging
out with. He's got a history of hanging out with a lot of pedophiles.
He sure does.
So
he sure does.
Is it guilt by association? I don't know. But
I don't want to go to
prison. This is something that the media should be having a field day with, but they're not.
And they're not.
No.
They're not. And it must drive you insane, bro. Like I see your Twitter account. You're very vocal about it. You're vocal about the child abductions, the pedophile rings. You're vocal about the prime minister, as you should be, because it's disgusting. And things need to change out there. They really do.
Like this one here, we've had more opioid deaths and suicide than we've had people die of COVID.
Right. And nobody seems to give a royal shit. They don't.
No.
It's scary.
Yeah.
What do we do, bro? We keep on fighting the good fight, I guess.
Yep.
You've got your website that's very active.
Fleury.life.
Yeah. You do your speaking engagements. You're probably not as busy, but I see you doing a ton of podcasts. You're really getting the word out there, man. And it's amazing how far you've come.
I just designed an online program called Trauma Transformation. So if you go on my website, it's there. I take you through the process of healing step by step. And then I work with people individually. I have a coaching business as well. And we're relatively busy. I wish I was a little bit more busy. I wish I was able to get on a plane and continue what I've been doing, for the last 11 years. But hopefully in the next little while that'll happen and that'll all come back to fruition.
Let's hope. Couple of quick rapid questions before I let you go. Yeah. You a fan of the NHL today, Theo?
No.
I don't blame you. Bettman, like or dislike?
I like Gary.
Okay. And I wrote that question and I knew the answer because Gary was he was instrumental in getting you reinstated back into the NHL, which helped you retire with dignity too, which we, through our rapid chat here, 45 minutes disappeared pretty quick. We're actually in the fifth. And so, but he was instrumental. A lot of people don't like him, but I figured you did. And that's good on him for giving you those kudos back then and letting you back in because you were a massive part of the game, dude. And, one thing, but two, I forgot to ask. Hall of Fame. I think you belong there. All my friends think you belong there. What do you think? Yes, no. One day.
I have one argument.
Okay.
And I always say if I have to defend myself, then I probably shouldn't be in the Hockey Hall of Fame. But so there was 4 best on best tournaments in the 90s. Okay, 91 Canada Cup. 96 World Cup of Hockey, 98 Olympics, and 2002 Olympics. And I was on all 4 of those teams. So for a decade, I was considered one of the 20 best players in all of Canada.
Yeah.
So
there you go. And my friend, you played 1,084 games, correct?
Yeah.
And you had 1,840 PIMs and 1,088 points, so more than a point a game, and you were 5'6", bro, and 180 pounds in a big man sport. So you got
I wasn't 180 pounds. I guarantee you that. I was probably about $155. So
wow. I mean, I have so many more questions, and I'm kind of glad we didn't get into the whole super drug thing and you playing in that in your career because I really had a great chat with you, man. Again, I can't thank you enough. You've been great. Even this summer, you took the time. Hey, my dog's excited that you were on. You took the time to retweet earlier this summer a link for friends of ours that who are huge Calgary Flames fans and huge fans of yours. Baby Ruby sadly lost her fight, but you were kind enough to retweet that out, man, and show the love. So can't thank you enough for helping my friends out, and that meant so much to them.
Well, I was very blessed to do something that I absolutely love to do, and that was play hockey for the majority of my life.
Yeah.
And, as a retired athlete, it's my opportunity, my chance to give back to the people that, really matter the most. And that's the fans, because without you guys, there is no me. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that has got lost on a lot of our NHL players today, is that they don't realize without you guys buying tickets and buying jerseys and buying hockey cards and all that stuff, there is no us.
No.
And it's the fans of the NHL that make everything go around, and they, without those fans, the Austin Matthews and the Connor McDavids aren't making $14 million a year. And so,
Got that right.
Whenever I get the opportunity to give back or help, I'm more than willing, because of that fact. And my old man would kick my ass too. So.
Hey, one thing I read too, you did fix things with your parents, but you had a rough go back in the Allen Cup, and sadly, that was one thing you really wanted to win, and you lost in the semifinals playing with your brother, right?
Yep.
And
I lost in the semis twice in the Allen Cup.
Man,
so.
No way.
Yeah.
That's a pisser.
But you know what? It was an amazing experience. My heroes growing up as a kid were guys who played senior hockey in my hometown, because it was like, that was our professional hockey. And so, we couldn't afford to drive into Winnipeg and buy some tickets and go to a Jets game. So, senior hockey, those guys were our heroes and our idols. So
for sure. Favorite teammate of all time?
So, my favorite teammate of all time, Sandy McCarthy.
Nice. No way. Yeah. That's awesome. I got to play hockey with Sandy real briefly in Wasaga Beach, of all places, with some friends, Chris Contos and his son, Christoph. Yeah, so that's funny.
He used to have a marina in Barrie, I think, or something.
Around.
That's a convenience store or something. Yeah, so
awesome. Yeah. Spit and Chicklets podcast. Are we going to see you on as a guest on there?
I did it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I've done it. Yeah.
Oh, fuck! How did I miss that? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I must have missed it.
I think it was last year sometime I did it. So
damn, I'm gonna have to go back and listen. I thought I'd heard them all, but I missed that. So I apologize for that. Anyways, Theo, you've been amazing, man. 57 minutes of your time. I can't thank you enough. You've been more than honest with me, and you played such a great hockey career with ultimate tenacity and fierceness as a 5'6", just full of piss and vinegar, dude. You had an amazing career, man. And with all the shit you went through, you should be really, really proud of yourself.
Well, the thing I'm most proud of is that I'm sober today. My greatest accomplishment in my life is sobriety, because without my sobriety, I got nothing. So
15 years just passed a few weeks ago, correct?
Yeah. 2 Fridays ago, I celebrated 15 years. So
congrats, my friend.
I don't know how I did it, but
hey, you did it. Like I read
one day at a time. One day at a time.
You still don't even know how you got through your NHL career, how you did.
Exactly.
But, hey, you did it. You're a world champion, junior champion, you're a Stanley Cup champion, Olympic gold medalist, a country singer, a best-selling author, and a wonderful goddamn human being, my friend.
Well, I appreciate that. And, it's always awesome to get an opportunity to tell my story, because I know that one person who's going to listen to this podcast, it's going to change their life.
Yeah. Good for you, man.
And that's why I get out of bed every day.
Yeah. Good for you. Yeah. And so it's why I'm still doing this show. Just real quickly before I say goodbye, is like you say that I was living in Nicaragua and I had to come back because of COVID. And my house was rented out in Aurelia, where I'm from. And so I lived with my parents in Hamilton for 4 months, and I just got bored. And I was sitting in my parents' basement and started this kind of live podcast thing. And it became one of those things where I became very open and honest about what I've been through and what I'm going through still and struggling. And I've had Theo, I've probably had 6, 7, 8 people reach out to me and were knocking on death's door. To commit suicide and didn't want to be here and had dark stories, and they reached out to me. And
awesome.
that's
what happens when you tell your story. That's what happens when you get honest. Is
Yeah.
that, something that you thought you were the only person that was experiencing what you're experiencing. I would say
it's a big world out there.
If you struggle from mental health and addiction, guess what? You're in the majority. You're not in the minority, right?
You're right.
That's been my experience, and that's what I've discovered.
Yeah.
We weren't put on this earth to suffer in silence. We were put on this earth to be in relationship with each other and help each other get through the most difficult times in our life. And by doing that, guess what? You're going to heal yourself. By helping others, you're going to heal yourself. It's that simple.
You bet.
And so whatever platform you use, and podcasts are an amazing way to get your message out there, get your story out there, and then inspire others to do exactly what you've done.
Right.
So,
well, you're an amazing human, man. I wish you all the best in the future, and hopefully we can knock down this crazy pedophile ring in this world, and keep telling your story, and just keep being you, man. I really appreciate it.
Trump is doing his very best to do it.
He is so.
He said he was going to do it, and he's doing it. So,
yeah, it can't be easy.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's in the darkest nooks and crannies of society. It's just disgusting.
It really is. Yeah. Well, thanks again to your wonderful manager, Don, for helping set this up. And again, of course, our mutual friend, Jack Reedford, that guy's a beauty. I love him. And I think
I used to absolutely be head over heels in love with his sister. So,
yeah. Oh, no way. That's hilarious.
Yeah. So,
right on. That's funny. I'll laugh back at that. He never told me that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Theo. You're one of a kind, and I truly thank you for your time.
All right, man. I appreciate it, and take care of yourself, eh?
You as well. Thanks, pal.
Okay. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.